What was the Asgill Affair, and how did it slow down peace talks after the Battle of Yorktown? Hi Founder fans, Jason here. And today's founder is not Charles Asgill. Charles Asgill is the center of today's story, but he was a British soldier, so he's not today's founder. Today's founder, we will say, is Joshua Hadi. Let me explain. First, we need to talk about a man named Philip White. I know I'm throwing a lot of names at you, but come with me here. After Yorktown, Philip White was a captive in the custody of the Patriots, and he died while he was in Patriot custody. Now, the British thought this was a brutal murder, but the Patriots said he was trying to escape and they killed him while he was trying to escape. The truth, we will never know, but the result of this is the British decided to take one of their prisoners and hang them in revenge. Now, the man they decided to hang was named Joshua Hadi, and he is, by default, today's founder. So Joshua Hadi was hung by the British in New York City while in captivity, and he was a captain, so he was an officer that was hung. And when he was hung, a note was pinned to his coat that said, "Up goes Hadi for Philip White." And this brings us to the Asgill Affair. As you might imagine, the Patriots were very much not happy about this. And George Washington, who had, just won the Battle of Yorktown, was set to do something. He felt the need to respond. So he wrote a note to the British that said, in return for murdering one of our officers, we are going to hang one of yours. So what he did is he got together a group of British officers that were in custody, and he gave them all a piece of paper. They all had to draw a piece of paper out of a hat. And all the pieces of paper were blank, except one, which read, "Unfortunate." And 20-year-old Charles Asgill is the one who drew the unfortunate card. So Asgill was set to be hung. And this caused problems for George Washington almost immediately. First of all, he was a prisoner taken captive at the Battle of Yorktown, and part of the surrender agreement at Yorktown was no one would be executed. And here they were threatening to execute someone despite the terms of peace at that particular battle. This came to a lot of people's attention right away. In fact, I'm going to put a link in the description of a letter written by Alexander Hamilton, where Hamilton says, we can't do this. It'll be a stain on our reputation. We can't disobey the rules of war before we're even done becoming a country. Furthermore, many people, not just the British, but even Americans, were not happy that we were going to execute someone who hadn't committed a single crime. And again, these were men of honor, and this was important. We couldn't just be killing off this guy for no reason. So, Asgill's execution just happened to be stayed several times, conveniently, which gave the British time to negotiate with George Washington and the Americans in the Continental Army, trying to figure out a resolution for this. Now, Asgill's family in Britain contacted King Louis XVI of France and asked for his help in resolving the situation. And this is important because the British and the Americans were having peace talks in Paris at the time, and those peace talks had ceased until the Asgill Affair resolved itself. It was that big a deal. So, eventually, King Louis, who at this point had troops in the war and was himself trying to negotiate a peace with Britain, decided the best thing to do would be get involved and try and sort things out. Fortunately, by this point, George Washington had done what George Washington always seemed to do. He defaulted to the Continental Congress. He informed Congress, it is now your responsibility. Whatever you think is best, I will do. Which is something Washington did for his whole career, and is one of the reasons he ended up being such an important American and the first president, is because he would default to others. He did want the group to choose. I wouldn't call it a democracy, but he certainly was in favor of Republican values. And he did this, and therefore, by the time King Louis contacted Continental Congress was happy to work with him, and eventually the Continental Congress pardoned Asgill for his crime and sent him back to Britain. And he would actually go on to have a long and distinguished military career, but again, with the British, so not what we're talking about here today. I should also note that Joshua Hadi's wife, Joshua Hadi, the man who was hung, that caused this whole scene, his wife wanted Asgill to be set free. His wife was one of the many people who thought killing Asgill served no good. So that's the Asgill Affair. It's a fascinating little thing right at the end of the war that had, it seems very small and is not very well known, but had huge implications on the revolution itself. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit like. That helps me out a lot. And if you're new here, make sure you subscribe. I put out videos like this 4 days a week, and on Wednesdays we have a fun live video. So thank you so much for watching, and I will be back with another Founder tomorrow.